Hello and welcome to my full stack banking application presentation. My name is Asha Hensleigh. In part one, we will be discussing the front-end architecture, authentication method, and overall app diagram. Here is an overview of what my application looks like. It has a client tier that is state rendered using React.js as the base environment, a business logic tier that is handled by Node.js as the main library, and navigates using Express.js as the main librarian. For the database tier, I am using a NoSQL called MongoDB as the primary filing system. Here I will go over the component architecture of the front end. The top level is the app component. It relies on app.js as its user manual. I used React Router DOM to handle my navigation system for client-side routing. My different pages include create account, login, all data, withdraw, and deposit. They are located in the components folder. There are also two additional components that are used throughout my application. Card, a general form that can be modified for use on multiple pages, and navbar, a labeling system that directs client traffic. For my authentication method, I used email and password as the credentials needed to both sign up and log into an existing account. When user creates an account, email and password is needed. When a user logs in to an existing account, email and password is also needed. The parameters being if the email and password submitted matches the email and password in the database, allow access. If else, then deny access. I took this approach because I wanted to fully understand how the process worked from the inside out. So I opted to make it from scratch instead of using a library like OAuth. A frustrating challenge I encountered when establishing authentication was navigating MongoDB models and how to get them to interact with the data in my database. At one point, I struggled to access the password from the login request and compare it to the data in my database, and the endpoints just wouldn't connect for some reason. Turns out there was a switch that was needed to be flipped on Mongo in two different places. And so I was able to overcome this challenge by using a lot of Stack Overflow in conjunction with a lot of articles written by other developers and a lot of console log statements to understand what my code was doing and make adjustments when needed. For my UI design, I really wanted to attempt to bridge the gap between my bachelor's and this program. I decided to take a risk and build all of my assets in Illustrator and build out each page layout as two JPEGs, a home page and a general background page that could be used in multiple scenarios. And my thought was that Illustrator is really good at vector art and using a composite of shapes to create a larger image. And if I can craft my layout to be mostly geometric in nature, I can basically digitally draw the app as a wireframe and then plug it into my code as a JPEG to set as the background. Then I could just map the components over the image and voila, 100% customized app with none of the hassle of shifting assets. Think of a child's placemat with a design printed on it that's a circle for the plate, a circle for where the cup goes, etc. It's that same sort of idea. I wanted to be efficient as well as use my tools for what they are best at And I do think that this way of doing things has some limitations, but either breaking it down into smaller assets or simply using an app better suited for the project's specific needs can be just as effective. Right. This concludes this portion of my presentation. Please join me for part 2, where we will be discussing the database and API.